Gentlewoman from New Mexico reserves. The gentlewoman from Minnesota is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield 4 minutes to the gentleman from New York.
It's good to know that my Democratic colleague would rather children in the Congo mine for cobalt than to create American jobs here and put in place environmental safeguards. But thank you for putting that on the record. Madam Speaker, today I rise in support of the rule to bring my Anti-Semitism Awareness Act to the floor. I want to thank Chairman Burgess, Chairman Jordan, Leader Scalise, and Speaker Johnson for their support for consideration of this bill and their leadership in combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. What's happening on college campuses right now is horrifying. We've seen folks at these encampments telling Jews to go back to Poland, as if they weren't kicked out of their homes, murdered in cold blood, and sent to death camps less than a century ago. The leader of the protest at Columbia called for death to Zionists. There was a sign at George Washington calling for a final solution, which was the name of Hitler's plan to exterminate Jews. People shouting that they are Hamas and calling for the burning of Tel Aviv to the ground. They chant for Intifada and from the river to the sea. These are not peaceful protests expressing their constitutional right to free speech. These are illegal encampments where demonstrators engage in harassment and where they urge violence against Jewish students, Jewish Americans, the U.S. government, the Israeli government, and more. I unequivocally condemn the college administrators that haven't acted to quell these encampments and who have enabled their campuses to become unsafe environments for Jewish students. At the federal level, we must give the Department of Education the tools to identify and prosecute any anti-Semitic hate crimes committed and hold college administrators accountable for refusing to address anti-Semitism on their campuses. This legislation defines anti-Semitism using the IRA working definition and its contemporary examples so that there can be no confusion or interpretation when it comes to the heinous act of discrimination and violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. It has broad bipartisan support in the House and the Senate, 59 co-sponsors in the House, including over a dozen Democrats. So this is not about dividing Democrats. This has broad bipartisan support. If there are people in your conference that embrace anti-Semitism, that's not our fault. That's something you should be rooting out. When people engage in harassment or bullying of Jewish individuals where they justify the killing of Jews or use blood libel or hold Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the Israeli government, that is anti-Semitic. There's no question about it. It's unfortunate that we need to clarify that these actions are anti-Semitic, but it makes this bill that much more necessary. What is happening at Columbia, at Yale, at UCLA, and so many other schools is reprehensible and alarming. But it cannot be discouraging. We must act so that the anti-Semitism on college campuses stops immediately. Our country's anti-discrimination laws must work for all of us, including Jewish students. Now, my Dem colleagues are tripping all over themselves because of electoral politics. They're worried about votes in Michigan and Minnesota and trying to placate a pro-Hamas element of their party. People who are parroting Hamas talking points. Literally, when I was at Columbia University last Wednesday with Speaker Johnson, Hamas endorsed the protesters on the campus grounds, saying that they are the future leaders of America. If those are the future leaders of America, God help us.
I would yield an additional 30 seconds.
We should be very clear. Charlottesville was wrong. January 6th was wrong. Taking over a courthouse in Portland was wrong. Burning down a police station in Minneapolis was wrong. Breaking in and seizing control of the library at Columbia University is wrong. Let's call it all out and stop being a bunch of cowards. Anti-Semitism needs to be rooted out, and any member who votes against this bill should hang their head in shame.
Madam Speaker, I appreciate my colleague's words, and I reserve.